So we are live. Welcome everyone.
Welcome.
I just gonna say it's 27th of March 2025. So we know if we just did 16 years of the live
It's
show
it's
this
like
week.
Star Trek. Like every start of the Star Trek show was like, captain's log, star date, something, something, something.
So it's good for we know if we manage to keep this for 16 years, I think we're gonna be quite old, but let's
Well,
see where it goes.
I was thinking the other day, if we do another 16 years, then you'll be past 60 and I'll be almost 60,
Yeah,
which is
I'd
really
watch.
fucking really weird to think
I'll
that
about.
would
watch.
be weird. So everyone, so tonight we have I'm gonna say special guest. We have Kim. You've been on the industry for a long time. She as know as for the amazing work she does as art direction, design. You quite do a little bit of everything on the aspect of illustration, art director, design. So for who doesn't know, we're gonna share the website after, but I'm just gonna show her website quickly so everyone can get a little perspective and can introduce her better than us. Give me 1 second. Cool. Cool. So I think you guys can see. And after we're gonna share a little bit, but you pretty much her work goes from to design, from characters to typography. So a super nice mix, and everyone can have a look on the website properly later. I'm just gonna show quickly here, so you know a little bit more about her and her work. But if everyone goes to her website, can have a look properly. She does character design as well. It's a lot of different styles and collage, so it's really nice, broad aspect of work as well. So we share after the website so everyone can have a look. But Kim, can you introduce yourself? Tell a little bit better what you do.
Of course. Hi everybody. Yeah, I've kind of done a ton of different types of work through my like 2 decades of work.
Yeah.
It's been so long, so it's like where do you even start? But I am an art director and illustrator, designer, for anything that moves, basically. And I've started like in before I graduated college back in 2005 from CalArts, and started straight after, or right, I think before I graduated, I started at Stardust, and was staff there for about 2.5 years, I think, or three, which was amazing. Like made, I have a crazy huge portfolio after working there. I dove in and worked crazy hours, not because it was their fault, but like I was so into detail. I At that point I was still using a mouse. So imagine doing like very detailed work, but like also with the
Uh,
mouse, not a Wacom tablet. So
I
there, I
think
wish I
it's
could show
I
you a
think it's
picture.
worth mention. Sorry, I think it's worth mentioning in case some people don't realize, but like back in the day, Stardust, because they're not around anymore, but they were like one of the top studios back in the day.
Yeah.
They were like one of the pinnacles. So yeah, just wanted to add that
It's
in there.
it's one of the beginning, it's one of the old ones. They shut, but they came back as Loves York now. No?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it was nuts. Like, and I was really stubborn to it, but it just, everything keeps changing. You just have to evolve.
Hmm.
Um, but I was there, yeah, for about like 2.5, 3 years, and then went freelance for like just a couple months, and then went staff at PsyOp for I think it was another 2, 3 years. I think that's like the magic number for me.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was great. I met like it's nuts because I was talking to you guys earlier. It's like I miss being in office and like creating like a little work family, and those people at PsyOp have been still in my life. Like I haven't like worked there physically for a long time, but they're like considered family to me. Anyways, so then
But when
after that, I
but when you
went.
when you were there, it was like a pinnacle time as well. Like there's so many amazing people that have gone on to do like awesome stuff. Like to have have that on like your friends list is pretty rad.
Yeah. And also to have like some are still humble, like I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
it's also really important to mention because this sometimes industry, especially if like you get to the top of where you want to be, it just changes your ego completely. So I've seen that happen. I've seen people stay still like super genuine and not jaded. So yeah, I was there, and then I went freelance, and I've been freelance since like 2010 or 11, and I've been loving it because it allows me to work for anybody. Like I could work for anybody. I could work on not what I was used to working on, like just specific. I felt like at one point I was pigeonholed into this like very illustrative, like wavy line, like art, but I really, not to sound, like everyone says it, but I really wanted to do like storytelling. So I, so I went freelance and I like did everything from like stage concept art for Stevie Nicks to like, um, uh, I've been doing some like film art development for Leica and just like it's a crazy basket of opportunities that I feel very lucky to have been a part of.
It's interesting you're saying like you felt pigeonholed in that kind of more illustrious illustration style. But how do you go about breaking out of a pigeonhole? So I think it's quite difficult sometimes once you're pigeonholed to get out of it. But obviously you did that incredibly successfully.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a variety of things. I think it's like you still once you're freelance, you do need to network. Like I used to go to more events. I used to talk to more people. Like alone in my bedroom right now. I I think it's also like very important for everyone to do personal projects, like to like push everything that they really want to do and continue at it and to get better at it and expose that and see, people will see that on your site and, now like Instagram and other social media platforms. So I think that's really important. And you kind of have to just force yourself to do that because if you don't, you'll stay, I think, doing the same things over and over again that you might not want to do forever. So I think it's important I could say that to myself or for myself too. Like I have a diverse portfolio, but I never make time anymore for personal work, which is sad. Like I miss it.
It's difficult though, like the kind of the older you get. And I'm not saying anyone's old, by the way. But like,
you can call me old.
It gets more and more difficult to find time because obviously your life is changing and you got like family and all that kind of side of things. There's more things that take away your once like personal time, that you used to be able to use for doing your own thing and experimenting in projects. I think it's quite I don't know, I find it really difficult.
It is so difficult. And then it helps when you find a friend that are like, oh, let's like try to get in this gallery space or something. Like, let's build all this stuff so we can like show it and see if we could get into a gallery or whatever. I've been
Maybe
talking
it's
to
having that goal.
Yeah,
Maybe it's having that goal to aim at. That's the key.
Yeah, the goal, and then also like if you drag someone else into it with you, it's like you have more pressure.
You're coming down with me.
Yeah, it's like come down with me. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's important to drag people down with you. I think it's, but yeah, I agree. It's so hard to get time, especially like when you're in front of a screen for so long. It's like, do you want to keep being in front of a screen? But you could also, not everyone in the industry draws, but it might be a fun medium to try something new that's not necessarily like the equipment that you always use, just to see it from a different perspective.
Also, it kind of keeps your ideas fresh as well, isn't it? You're trying new perspectives, and you can even take that to what you were using before and look at things in a different way. So it's always beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. No, it reminds me of reminds me of CalArts. When I went to college, one of my teachers told me like we were like in mid conversation and then she just like stops talking and I was like, what's up? And she's like looks at this tree next to us like, if that tree was a poster, what would it look like? I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, and it weirdly it stuck with me like ever since then, which was a long time ago. Because it's just like her way of saying, you know, what if you see like anything that's inspiring, a different shape, a different, you know, a story that you want to explain in a different way. Seeing a perspective that way is interesting too. Just instead of going on Pinterest forever and trying to find, you know, some styles that can inspire you. There's other ways to do it.
I do
Yeah.
find sorry, I do find that like sometimes if there is time, like for example, if you get a creative brief on a Friday, but you don't have to do anything until next week, I do find it quite nice just to have the idea sit and then, you know, like maybe go for a walk in the countryside or something like that. And so you're not thinking about anything, but it's in the back of your mind, and then suddenly something might pop in. I kind of like that. You're not, sometimes you force yourself to do a creative, but the best ones are always kind of quite organic if you have the luxury of time, that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I quite like. I use quite a lot of the time. I run quite a lot. I use the time when I'm running as well. You know, to process ideas and everything. Always help me because it don't feel working wise, but always help. It is quite nice. And you're talking about like your ideas. I still, you know, remember how blow my mind. You know, the time when you used to freelance on psyop. You know, your work always been so arty, and you know the amount of details and everything was always, you know, kind of out of out of the normal, you know, than we used to see. You know, never being something that followed the trend. You know, was always like wow, you know, and it's still amazed. I remember clearing my head about the work. You know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy because I almost wasn't gonna do what I'm doing. Like I went to school for print design, and I told my one of my teachers I looked up to. I was like, oh, I might switch to fine art, and he's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna you won't get paid. You know, like you got to do graphic design, and then you know if that does well, you could do art, and then but then somehow I remember I went to like I think it was like AIGA had like a portfolio review, and Stardust was there. That's how I got the job. I met with like Brett. I don't know if you guys know Brad Tucker, but he was there. Brad, are you on here? But Brad was there, and he like he it was only like a company that I met with, and I like pretty much got the job there, and it was amazing because it wasn't even print design; it was motion graphics, right? But I was terrified because like I didn't know what Z space was. I didn't know like I didn't know how to like I didn't understand depth. Everything was flat when in my world. So it was really interesting to just like jump into it without like barely any knowledge in motion graphics. And we were talking earlier, is like the industry isn't that old. It's really not.
And it's not like you could just look on the internet and find tutorials back then either. Like you had to
No.
buy books, and even then the tutorials are quite basic.
Yeah, it's so true.
So how did
it takes forever as well. Everything we did in that time took forever.
And then we had like these massive. I had a computer. It was like so huge. It was like triple my head, or maybe more.
I still
I've got 1 gig of RAM.
I still remember like a preview was like rendering like a tiny screen, you know, 320 something like that, and going for lunch for an hour to be able to see a preview, you know, because you couldn't preview anything at that time, you know. But I say it was a good time, you know. We
got
James,
through.
You were talking about we never have enough time on the project, you know, but in the past, you know, we needed to work in a way that is so fast nowadays, you know.
But when you did budgets back then, you had to factor in render times. Whereas now, when you do a budget, you don't really have to do. I mean, it is a factor, absolutely, but you don't normally put that within your budget time constraints. Like, you know, you don't put like, oh, I need 2 days rendering.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
It's true. And if it doesn't crash or anything happens.
If it doesn't crash. Oh, and you want HD, that's 8 days.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Everything chugs. Yeah, it was nuts.
So
you guys don't know what you do.
Don't know how easy you have it.
So young. Yeah, no one knows how easy they got it.
Yeah, it's true.
If you've been freelance for 20 years, which is, you know, that's an amazing feat in itself. So sorry, you've been working for 20 years, maybe not freelance for 20 years. But anyway, what what
Yeah.
what do you feel like the key to longevity is as a freelancer?
I think it's like kind of similar to what I said before, is like just making sure that you figure out how to keep that drive, keep like the motivation that gets you excited to do your job. Try to think of, what will inspire you to create something that could win over a client that you admire, or
Mm.
um, and just continuing to do that. Like you just, if you lose that, it's just, I feel like I've never lost that, luckily, that I still have like the drive and ambition. Like, I don't know if I'll ever retire, to be honest. I don't think I will. It's also
But
just, it's a good
I think that's a
distraction.
good thing about creativity is that you don't have to necessarily retire. You can always just, if everything goes well, dial it down, and maybe you just start working for yourself or whatever. But you don't. I
Yeah.
would never, like, I think similarly, I would never like not do something creative. As to what
Yeah.
that might be, I don't know. But
How do people get bored? I don't get it. Like, it's crazy to me.
yeah.
But
So,
yeah, I think
well,
that that's
we
important.
mentioned earlier, like, obviously you're a parent now. Like,
Oh yeah.
how do you keep? Yeah. Oh yeah, I do have a
Oh
kid.
yeah. Another
Gonna be
important
That's
around.
what that noise was. So how do you keep that drive and that spark going? Because like juggling family life and work is, man, it's really difficult. But so
Yeah.
how do you deal with it?
Um, well, luckily COVID came. No, I shouldn't say
Yay.
that. I was pregnant like right before COVID. So, uh, yeah, just to back up, I was pregnant. I was working in like Times Square, which was like the worst place to be pregnant. um, like in the
And
morning.
COVID as well, man. Like Times
Yeah, and
Square and
like
COVID.
right before
Jeez.
COVID, I was ready to pop. But yeah, it was nuts because I was at like Crafty Apes for like a little while, and I think what happened is the lucky part of it all, like I was in maternity leave, like after working there, and I just kind of eased into the lockdown because I was working at a company. I was working at Loyal Casper, I think, like beginning right before COVID happened, and they're like, "Oh, we really want you to come in," like and I was like still like in remote mind, so I was trying to push it. I was like, do you mind if like just a couple more days? And then like the lockdown happened right after I asked for a couple more days. So I just
Wow.
ever since I have not stepped my foot in any office since like end of 2019 because I
Wow.
just stayed remote ever since,
I
which
do
has
think that was
its
a
ups and downs. Yeah.
yeah, I do think that was like the one small slither of the silver lining of a pandemic is that like before the pandemic, I don't know what it's like in New York, but it took me forever to convince companies that I can work remotely and I'll promise I get the work done.
Yeah.
Post
Yeah.
pandemic, it's like, well, yeah, it's fine because obviously everyone had to do it, so the pipeline changed slightly. Then everyone's like, oh yeah, actually it's okay now because it's been proven. That was a
Yeah. Sure.
small silver lining.
Yeah, it's very common now. It's like I think there was only one person or one company that asked me to go in office, but it ended up like not work. I think I have a hard time like not having all of my thoughts on my face sometimes. So it's just like I had a call with them, and I was like, yeah, I could come in the office, and then you just never got back to me again. But it was like a hybrid situation, uh, which was fine. But like, long story short, it's just the remote life has been very amazing to have like work and a parent balance because
Mm.
my son's school is only like around the corner. I could walk him. It's like
That's
nine
great.
minutes to get to his school. Um, and so that's really convenient. That and just I never have to go in the city anymore, which is like great and bad because it's probably good to get out once in a while, but it's like to
Yeah,
not have to be on the subway every morning is
I
very
was saying
ideal.
to, I was down in London a couple of days ago for the See No Evil show, stayed with Thiago, and I said to him then, I was like, one of the things I really don't miss about living in London is the London Underground.
Oh
God
yeah.
damn, it's horrible, especially in summer times. Like, oof,
Oh, gross. Smells like stinky feet. It's gross.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that is a big benefit. I like that you can juggle your work around your kids' hours as well, because that just makes so much difference.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the peak or the highlight, like you said, the silver lining of it. The one thing though, I do miss like just getting lunch with like work friends or having, you know, a coffee buddy to like just
Mm.
walk around the corner with and talk to. And so like my main source of like conversation is talking about farts and and like stuff with my son, you know, which is cute, but it's not like, you know, it's not.
I think my I have a similar problem. Like I live in kind of middle of nowhere, kind of small town, and most of my conversations are just getting a really terrible lunchtime meal deal at a supermarket, and it's so
Yeah.
depressing. That's one thing I really miss, going from like working around Soho and getting like whatever you can for lunch and chatting
Yeah,
to
yeah.
supermarket meal deals.
And
And
just
then it's
having that break as well, no? Helps quite a lot. And
Absolutely.
how I would love to pick your perspective, like how difficult it's been for you, being a mom and trying to work in the same time, because it's
yeah,
the industry is quite new, but in the same time it is quite a new thing, like having the studio,
mm,
having girls. Then we always discuss that, like to manage, have like a kid is a full-time job,
yeah,
and especially you said you don't see you stop doing your work,
yeah,
how difficult it's for you to manage, the parenting life and the work, just find a balance on that.
yeah. I mean, it is a juggle for sure. And my partner, my husband, is like also freelance. So the biggest issue is like remembering the schedule and remembering all the
Mm.
meetings and all of the where I need to be when. And we've overcomplicated it by giving him like, so he goes to like after school, like he has a arts and crafts kind of after school, but then he has another one. So I have to like remember which day is what. And sometimes we, you know, take turns picking up and dropping off. But yeah, I mean, it's worked out, especially after it gets way easier after the first 2 years. He's
Mm.
5 now, so now it's just like there's actual routine and there's things to expect. Whereas in the beginning of being a parent in the industry, everything like with work, being freelance, and everything with your child always is changing. And it's just like you finally like when you finally feel like there's a routine with like in the beginning having a kid, it just changes like a week later, and you're like, okay, this is a thing now.
Yeah.
Um, so it's you know it was definitely challenging, and it's definitely like worth all the challenges. But I don't. Yeah, I think if anything, it's just uh, amazing to be remote, I guess, and amazing to like, you know, like it's funny because like you see the screen here, and like Miles, my son, thought it was for him. It's like you got me a new computer, and I'm like, sure. He just always wants to play with my new tech all the time,
Well,
which
I
is
was
really
going to say,
That's
like, does he have any concept of what you guys do for a living, kind of thing? Is it, oh, mummy's just drawing pictures?
I know. Oh, you know what's funny is like the other day he like ran in, I think like after I had a meeting, because I opened the door. He's like, oh, it's okay to go inside. He ran in and he's like, do you get paid more if it's more pretty? Like if you make something
it.
that's like better looking and like more complex, can you get more money for it? And I'm like, huh, that's an
Mm.
interesting way of
Let's
thinking
find
about
out.
Yeah, especially
it.
for
Yeah,
5 years old.
I know.
If I put glitter on it, can I do an extra $100 a day?
I know. Yeah, I'll just put a like big rainbow and stars, and it's like extra 2K, right? If only, right? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Just,
There's already thinking all the financial, how make more money, how
yeah.
charge more the client.
Well,
Maybe
look,
it's gonna be
kids.
your future rep, gonna deal all the clients for you, and charge it properly. We're normally really bad at we wanted to charge.
Well,
I
kids
know,
are
makes me.
expensive, man. You got to claw it back somehow.
I know.
did
So it can work for
you
you.
had did you had any situation, like you freelancing and being a mom, where you need to talk to a company and say, I'm not available this time, and the companies sometimes being funny and not accepting that, or you never
Um,
felt that?
yeah, it really depends on who you're working for, because and it's so strange because it's like sometimes it's the people that have kids too that are the most like questioning your uh, I guess like times you can't do a meeting. Like
Wow.
there's like a moment in the day, like this only like I don't know, like 20 minutes max that I have to like run and get Miles and come back because that's how long it takes to get him. And I've gotten like a couple people complain, but like
Yeah.
majority of the time, I would say people are fine with it for sure. As long as you get the work done. I mean,
Yeah.
people need to like stop being so serious and just realize like you could trust people, and if you put that in the if if you go to a meeting and tell people that they can't do things and they don't, it acts like they don't trust you, like they don't trust that you could get the work done, they can't trust that you um you know they can't trust your word, and that's setting a certain vibe for the whole project. If like, and especially if they know you and if they've worked with you before, that could be really frustrating. That's happened like once or twice though. It's like barely
Okay.
out of like
Yeah,
the crazy amount of jobs I've done, so it's fine. But
that's good. Yeah, I think the pandemic helped a little bit as well, because before I think people was so focused on their work off the time. Our industry never worked like that, but people was like, oh, why you not working this time? People is a lot more flexible nowadays as well.
yeah,
I think as you said, that as long as you get the work done, doesn't really matter the time. If, of course, you have deadlines, you have calls, and but I think as a creative, we can't just say, "Oh, you're gonna work 9 to 5, 9 to 6," and expect. Sometimes you
yeah,
can be creative in the night and not in the day as well.
yeah. That's
I
so
I
true.
don't know about your creative night.
You don't want to know that, James.
It's
But
also
Yeah,
like as you get seasoned in the industry, I feel like we all kind of like know what we can get done in a certain amount of time. Like I
mm,
used to be horrible at that. I used to do all nighters all the time, like was so unhealthy right out of school, barely slept. I'd sometimes eat like peanut butter for dinner or something stupid, which I'm like slightly allergic to. But yeah, like it was, you gotta kind of understand time management to being remote and knowing what you could get done, which I think is doable. And like you could, and make sure you do coffee breaks. Like you can't just sit all day. That's not good
mm.
either.
yeah,
Yeah, having a break from the screen makes a lot of difference.
Yeah,
yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard.
I
You're
think
just
one of
sitting there
the
the whole day.
I guess like sometimes one of the I mean not necessarily in your case per se, but like one of the problems with the industry is it's sometimes it's almost expected, especially if you're just starting out, to work really, really late. And
for sure.
it's just not healthy. Don't get me wrong, I don't think like UK, Europe, and America are as bad as like say like Asia or whatever, where it's like, oh, you can't leave before the boss mentality of Japan. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
yep,
like yeah, you're right. Having that healthy work-life balance, I think is quite key.
for sure. Yeah, it's really important. I mean, yeah, I think you should just force yourself to do a coffee break, even if it's raining. It's just important to like stretch your legs, and like you're
Mm.
saying, that could be your way of inspiration too, like getting out and just seeing the sky and seeing like
I mean,
different things around in your
if
room.
you need an excuse, you could always just take up smoking.
Yeah, that too. Why it's just another healthy habit.
Exactly. So I'm just thinking, like with your freelance work and what have you, like how do you go about? I mean, what's the balance between like re repeat business clients and new clients? Because I'm just thinking about how do you go about getting new clients? Because pre-pandemic, I found it was always through like talking to people, meeting people, and all that. But obviously, being like yourself, like remote, I don't really get to chat to that many people anymore. So it makes the dynamic quite different.
It's so weird, right? I know that's a good question because it's like it also is weird to me compared to how it used to be, how you promote yourself, right? Like a lot of people like out of school don't even have websites or reels. They just flood their Instagram with like tons
Mm.
of imagery and hashtags or whatever. But yeah, I don't. It's hard to do that too. It's like to make time for self promotion. Like I was talking to you guys earlier. I was like telling a friend, I was like, you know, I don't really like a lot of attention, but I at least, I like to post some stuff on my Instagram, which then I look back, I'm like, I post like 2 things a year. It's nothing crazy. So
It's a full-time job though, I find. I mean, I'm not very good at being consistent and posting, but it is a full-time job.
It is a full time. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
I know, and it's like people pay, they have like ads and try to get like other viewership and more followers, which brings in more eyes. But I don't know, it's like, what else would you do besides like, do people really go to websites now? Or is like, how do you, I guess you do that through Instagram, but
Mm.
it's a roundabout way of answering your question. Sorry. But like, yeah, I guess the clientele, like I don't know. It's just like it's very random. I do keep in touch with like a lot of the people that I've worked for before, but like I do get just I think requests like just from my website or word of mouth.
Mm.
But yeah, the freelance life's been good because of that though. Like most of the jobs are very different from the next. Like one will be like about a comical like story that I have to make characters for, or like to something about like depression or that has to be
Wow.
like heavily like moody and dark. So but I like that. I like the that it's always changing from one job to the next. I think it's a great challenge and it gets me inspired to keep doing new work. That's yeah, it's really that's key, I guess, is like the
Yeah, having
new
that.
you could do to like do something like see something different, like going back to like changing your perspective and getting inspired in a new way. So
Yeah, I mean, I think like yeah, variety is always like the spice of life. Like jumping from one completely different job to the next one's nice. I think that goes back to like being pigeonholed as well and how to break out. I think that's quite good.
for sure, it's very
And
important.
how do you feel? A lot of people, we've been talking quite a lot about AI nowadays. Your work I think is still quite unique. When we compare, but like we just saw now. Chat GPT has the image generation just crazy what came out of
Oh,
that
Studio
and
Ghibli was not impressed.
yeah.
I love the input
And
from that.
how do you feel? Even we have a question here asking. We're gonna just talk on this, but with the progress, how the technology is going. How do you see our industry is going? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean it's like a very triggered question. AI, it's like
Mhm.
I I think to feeling that I've been remote so long, I've been slowly getting back into like LinkedIn and like scrolling down, and like half of what people are doing or like showing is like AI work, and then half of the people are being like, I hate AI. So it's like
Yeah.
very crazy how mixed, the
Mm.
views are of it. Which I think it's great people have the conversation, but there's so much anger that is just like, it doesn't really, sometimes it just is just anger. But anyways, AI is funny. It's like I think it's inevitable, and we're gonna have to like adjust accordingly. I think it's a good tool to use. I think it's something that kills certain time, like rotoing or doing the more mundane stuff that you can't really do, or that would take like hours, like rotoscoping or but at the same time, I think, like going to like say Midjourney and doing a prompt is not art. I don't think
Agree.
it's something to like just post and be like, hey, look what I made. I think
Yeah.
what it is it's this, it's just like it pulls from the internet, like a lesser version of something that you want. Not only that, but it's just like, and it doesn't have as much personality if you were to massage it and make it your own, which people have done and done beautifully. But to straight up use it and say that it's something that's art,
Mm.
when it's from a computer, when art is like something that should be expressing emotion and like personality and charm. You're not going to get that from something like a cold box, you know?
True.
So, and then the other funny part is like, since it is kind of like regurgitating different art online, like, and everything's starting to look the same. I mean, in my opinion, for a lot of the AI art, it's soon just gonna like look even more the same, right? If it's gonna like in the
Yeah, it's going to
future,
amalgamate, and then it'll
itself.
pull from the amalgamations, and then
Yeah,
it'll
exactly. So it's
regenerate itself.
exactly. So I think that's kind of funny, right? Like if you're trying to look for a specific style and it ends up just looking, everything starts to look like AI in the long run, you know? So it's, you know, it has its good and its bad. I think bad qualities, but I think it's, you know, there are good things to it. Like it is a good tool to help, like say, like if you're doing like photocomping and need to expand your sky or something like
Mm.
that. If people get mad at that, then that's them. But
I used it recently on a project, which is kind of the first time where it was so the idea the creative idea was, you know, it's still your own. So but it involved putting together I was putting together photo collages of what I wanted the final image to be like. So I put together like a photo collage and then I ran it through AI to make it look into like a really nice paint style. But the creative was still it was still from a human kind of thing. So it's almost like just putting a filter on top. But for stuff like that, I think it works really well because obviously everything is a rapid turnaround, you know, so it wouldn't have been possible otherwise. So I think you're right. As a tool, I think it's okay, but you have to use it as a
Yeah.
tool rather than as the final creative. Like if it's to replace the creative, then it's not there.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it is a tool. I think for everyone we talk, you know, and there is a lot of benefits on there, like you said, Kim. But you know, saves a lot of time and even. But I'm being seen more and more like clients, especially agency. You know, they do the whole concept in house, you know, and sell
Yeah,
to the client and come to the studios, you know, and say, oh, this is what we sold to the client. And it's like the quality of the images, it just crazy. It takes, they don't have the time, they don't have the money to produce that. So I'm seeing a lot of
Uh,
problems coming from there with
I saw
clients nowadays.
I saw a music video the other day. It was for like Wu-Tang. Someone I think it was yeah, it was Wu-Tang. They put a new song out and they made the whole video out of AI. And
yeah.
man, if you pause it, it probably looks okay, but as it moves, it just looks really shit. And it's got that. But the thing is, they try to make it look realistic, and it just looks weird and kind of like slightly shiny and unnerving. It looks
Yeah, it's
wrong. It's just wrong.
I think maybe we're just getting too old, you know. It's the same
we don't
when we
know what's
see
cool
work, you
anymore.
know, like we used to like the amazing commercials going to TV and everything, and everyone just watch things on the phone nowadays, you know. I think the new generation, like the trash, is fine for them, you know. So
Man,
I think for them, they look and say, "Wow," you know, and they're like probably like in a year, 2 years time, everyone's gonna say, "Whoa, this looks cool," you know.
it's only a matter
Yeah,
of time before we go to the cinema and it's shot in portrait.
Yeah,
that'll be the day. I know it's
yeah.
interesting though. It's like I feel like it could also go completely opposite, right? Like now
Do you
that
reckon
there's
that?
so much AI out there that people are wanting more like more everything to be tactile and more trippy and like super or like stop motion or something. Like you never know. Like people might get so sick of it that they want more of that, which I'm hoping for. But
Me too.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
loses value. It loses value, I think. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe society will break off into two sections like Cromwell and the Roundheads or whatever. But yeah, I kind of hope that I hope there's always a place for real human creativity, and I kind of feel like there is. I think this is part of human nature.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and we've been seeing, you know, like cell animation, stop motion, you know, they all came back, you know, they disappeared for time and they came really strong, you know.
I mean, even
I think,
like, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, no, go ahead. I think it's just like a cycle as well, you know. There's always opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, even look at
And
the craze for a while. There was like pixel art was like a thing for a long time,
Mm.
like in video games and music videos and everything. Just like I'm probably like describing it wrong. Not pixel art. It's like the 2-bit or half
yeah,
half.
Like what's it called? the junior senior video by Shinola, where it's all kind of
Oh,
like blocky characters. It looks amazing, but I feel like that was the start of everyone kind of like jumping on that trend.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I
It does look
remember
cool though. I still like it.
that. Holds up. Yeah.
Another question for you, Lauren asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? You know,
Oh my gosh. It's a good question. I mean,
because if we think, like the 20 years on the industry is, is a long time. Is we start seeing the first cycle of like studios like Stardust and studios like that closing down and moving on to other things. So it's we kind of almost closing a full cycle on the industry. So where you see you going in 5 years, and do you think she asked also? Do you think the industry of design ever die?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope not, but I don't think it will die. I think it will just like, especially in hard times, not for everybody, but I feel like it is kind of hard times. But that's when people flourish the most with art. I think, like,
Mhm.
especially when there's like less work, when there's like political issues, whenever there's just, this is the time to express that with the art because that's what you're going to get when you're going to get like the most, I think, beautiful and compelling pieces out there. So, but
Uh,
5 years, sorry.
no, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, 5 years time, I would love to just like try to do things like just solely myself, like very like direct a short that could possibly go somewhere, become a feature or like. And it's funny because I told one of my friends, I was like, I want to do more like film and stuff, and she's like, "You're too old." I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, "But you're strong," and I'm like, "Okay." So, I mean, I can do it. Uh, but no, I just like I want to try. Even it doesn't have to be a feature, but it could even be just like something like a kid's book or just something that I have complete creative control over because I feel like I haven't done much of that. Like I love working as a team and collaborating with like insanely talented people all the time, of course, but it'd be great to do something that is just myself, like where I can have all the say, like maybe find a grant and get paid for a year to do something that it just, anything. I have so many ideas. Like I was talking to you guys, like I really miss doing more personal projects and I want to make something of it eventually, like make time to make something more more like not just the like one illustration, but something that I can build off of.
I like the like when you obviously talking about your kid earlier and also like a children's book. I quite like the idea that you're motivated by your child that's to leave something for them. I think that's quite a
That's
nice
sweet.
thing or do something for them, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so much bad children's books. Like I don't know if
There
you
are.
guys you've read enough to know like just like how is this kid I don't know. I don't want to be a snob. It's mean. But there are some.
Look, if they
There's
if they can get paid for it,
yeah, I could
then
do it.
why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like basically a graphic novel, but for kiddos. I did have
See,
like one idea, but I feel bad like explaining it, and then if someone like does it and whatever. But I feel like any children's book illustrations I make, though, I feel like are going to be like too scary or end up being like an adult's like children's book is probably what I would make. Um,
but it could be
that's fun.
too multifaceted, you know, something for the adults in the kid book as well. So it's got a scary edge. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe like 9+ instead.
yeah, exactly. That's a good idea for the
So
tweens.
it's interesting. Earlier, you mentioned. I don't want to get too far into like politicalness, but you mentioned political issues,
Mhm.
and traditionally, artists are fairly like left leaning and what have you.
Mhm.
I mean, what again, like talking about the future and talking about like grants and what have you. Do you think that's going to be impacted by the kind of current political climate? I'm trying to put this in a way that doesn't sound me like, you know what? I'm going to get my MAGA hat.
And then he was like, And then he just left the whole conversation.
It's all right. It's animation.
I know. I think I saw you guys. You had like a show like right when Trump got elected, and you wore the hats. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
we create this hat like we always joke, because we create on the other election and went out, and he's back. So I always joke, it's great he's back. So our hat is on trend
You're
again,
Well,
How many
I said the other day at the show, like, if you want to get through immigration easily in America, just wear your hat.
Oh God, sad.
But yeah, I'm kind of worrying how I'm kind of wondering how the political climate is going to affect kind of like artists and that kind of side of things and grants and creativity, because it is fairly, unless you're doing like, a portrait of the president, and obviously you have to do it really well now. Kind of tricky.
It is tricky. Yeah, I don't know. Like that's a tough question because I haven't really dived into like the options out there and like what all of the options that are changing because of what you're talking about. So that'll be my homework because I'm very curious.
We have another question here. I would love to
I gotta take this off.
know this one as well. Lou asked,
don't want dodgy thumbnails.
She would love to know what your favorite project. Do you have a favorite project?
Favorite projects? Oh, that's tough. I
think to add on to that as well, like obviously your favorite project, but is there any any company or studio or company you want to work with as well?
Oh yeah.
That you haven't worked with just yet?
It is hard, right? It's crazy because I've worked with like everyone. I've worked with so many amazing, talented places. I can't really say like a particular place, but like certain individuals, like certain directors that have like really made me think a different way and design a different way. But I feel bad like just dropping. I'm not a name dropper. But I'm trying to think of a project. I mean, I'm excited for like this year, to be honest. Like I've been slowly getting into like more film art development, which is great because there's time on it. Like you can actually spend time on certain like details, and like you could like build out like a longer story. I'm trying to think what other.
I mean, what are your favorite kind of projects to work on? Or sorry, that you have worked on, like, what has been the fun?
Weirdly, I've been really into, like, I guess it's just like I'm excited for anything that changes my way of thinking. So lately I've been really into comedy. Like I've been really into like making like trying to figure out ways to make people laugh that can add to like the concept, which we could use right now, right? Like we just need.
I think everyone needs that release, don't they?
But yeah, I guess like lately it's been, I love making monsters. I like making like really weird, derpy monsters. I wanted anyone that needs monsters out there, please give them to me.
Man, you should do like you could do like a really sweet collaboration with your kid on monsters. Obviously, I can see that.
Have you seen those where like a parent will like get their kids like crayon sketch of like this, not to be mean to the kid, but like a really stupid looking dog, and they'll like make like a Photoshop of a comp of that dog, but like with all the realistic shading and fur and like background. I love that crap.
I think they had a project. No, I think there is. I don't remember if it was a charity or something like that. They used to take kids drawing and invite artists, and they create like a proper illustration of the kid drawing. I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago, I think, and it used to be quite super nice.
I know Lauren and Davina did that. I forgot the name of the project. But yeah, that was great. I think that I hope that's still going on. I don't know if it is, but I love that. Like life size, like funky monsters are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is we were talking about AI as well, and having a kid. I spend a lot of time with my daughter, doing like artistic thing, and I just see, like with AI, even you can create any imagination the kids want to have. I think as we're saying as a tool, but even for a kid that doesn't know how to draw or anything, you can still visualize, how would be the imagination. So I think there is a lot like power on that, and I think with the kid mind, when it's everything still so pure and crazy,
You would
it would be
What
amazing
rules?
project. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Would
that's
be.
true. I
Do
mean,
do you? Sorry, yeah,
sorry.
carry on.
Yeah, like right when Midjourney came out, like I can't lie, right? Like I'm right when it came out, I was like, oh, I just like would stay up for way longer, just like prompting like the dumbest things, like and like just like mixing like my all-time favorite artists. Like, what if Archigram made like a building that was a person, but it was like, it was, I don't know, like something crazy. Like it was just so much fun to mess around with. But when it was really derpy, I liked it more because when it was like not really that, perfect. I mean, right now it's getting like this like shading, and the hands are kind of working out now. Before they were really weird looking. But yeah, like for a sec there, I was trying to like I did it on Instagram where I tried to do a prompt and then like turn it into something and show like the progress, at least show it the image that I got, and then turned it into like my liking. So that was a fun exercise. But now that it's gotten like so good, it's what's the point now? It's not derpy enough for me to like fix. Um, yeah, it was a fun exercise.
I
Do,
like the
do
idea
you?
where it's all messed up. I think that's where it was quite, yeah, like you're saying, it was
It
quite
used to
good
be
fun
fun. Yeah.
having the weird experiments, and you never
Yeah,
know what quite was going to come out, like 17 toes or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
You said early to us, your son is 5 years old. Do you spend any time, like working, like on creative thing with him, like showing what you do and getting his input and working
Mm.
like a collaboration thing?
Are they into
Yeah,
that? I guess, are they into their arts as well?
yeah, he's funny because like he knows like how to use Pinterest or whatever, and whenever he sees
Oh.
me like seeing like an image that, or if he sees an image that I'm looking at and he likes it, and it's like, oh, you have to pin that, you have to like save that one too, and this one's really cool. Like, it's really into the art. But yeah, I need to like make, now that he loves crafts, like I should build like some kind of tactile like robot with him or something sometime. I haven't really like
I mean, you got Halloween in the future. Aim for that.
yeah. I used to be so into costume making in college. I like had the craziest costumes, and now I'm just like, I don't know, I just like put makeup on and like get out. But I know I need
I got
to
there's
level up.
a supermarket chain here called Tesco, and they do like this range called Tesco Value. It's like, just a really bog standard range of everything. And I've got a T-shirt that says Tesco Value fancy dress costume, and that's all it says on it.
You wear that
Very
every
low
year?
effort. Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
And
cute.
So
on the side of being a mom and work as a creative, do you think anything changed for you, after you had a kid on the creative side, like getting inspiration? What I mean is, like, I spend a lot of time. My daughter is really into to writing and drawings and things like that, but sometimes she really make me realize, I should be doing more things, and also like comments. She loves watching everything I'm doing and comment like a client, and sometimes it's quite a decent comments. You
She
think,
nice?
oh, I didn't see from that perspective, you
Yeah.
know. But
Is she
did that
blunt?
add something to your work,
Yeah.
having?
I mean, yeah, because you're right. Like they're very honest. Like they don't hold back, right? Like they'll say
Yeah.
everything that's on your mind, even if it's hurtful. Like they will make fun of your work if they don't like it. Um,
You can like
but
my work, or there's no pudding.
I know exactly. That's what I tell him all the time. Yeah, I mean, he loves like when I do character stuff. Like he because it's always like kind of silly. Or at least the past like 4 projects that I've done for characters. Um, like for Nathan Love, I did like characters with like melon heads, and they're like super into those because they had like no face, just eyes, and he was like super. He like always wanted to see me drawing on them. But but yeah, he hasn't really been like a client. I don't think he's old enough yet to be as mean as a client, you know, like really tell me what to change. He'll just like, you know, tell me he likes something or doesn't. And, yeah, no notes at least yet.
So,
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
so you went to university at Cal Arts. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I went to Cal
So
Arts for like a graphic design, print
so
design.
obviously you started at Stardust, but was that the only were you always looking to move to like the East Coast as opposed to stay kind of west, or was it just like wherever it takes me?
Yeah, that's like a weird story actually. I was naive when I was in college, thinking like everywhere is like California. I went to actually like right after I graduated, after I worked at Stardust for a little bit. Oh, sorry, to back up, I was at Stardust for a little bit. I wasn't full time when I was in college, but like when I graduated, I'm actually moved very briefly to London.
Oh wow.
When I went to meet up with Nexus, and like in at CalArts, we would go on like field trips to like companies and just see what they're up to and like just get a feel of like an everyday work life. And I just assumed I was like, I called Nexus. I was like, hey, I want to come in and check you guys out. And they're like, what? And I was like, I just want to like see what your days are like. And they were so confused. I was like, but at the other thing, it was like August or something, and like the entire and a lot of people take holiday, and no one was there. So there's like 2 people in the office, and they're like, oh, it's not really a good time to come. And I was like so eager to start work and to like just get in it. So that didn't really pan out because like everywhere I talked to in London, I was like trying really hard to find a place that wasn't on holiday, and I was like, what is this? I'm confused.
Whereabouts in
So
London were you staying then? Kind of more East London.
Kingston or
Oh,
Kensington?
Kingston. Oh,
Kensington.
Kensington.
Yeah. Sorry, mix them up.
Kensington and Kensington are very different places.
Yeah.
One of them, yeah. Anyway, cool. I
But
didn't
yeah,
know that. That's amazing.
yeah, it was very brief. It was like 2 months. And I like kind of gave up, and I had like everything I owned with me. And I like just decided on a whim, like I was supposed to fly back to Seattle and my layover was in New York. And that day I decided to, when I was flying, to like not go all the way through it and just like stay in New York and see where I what I do. um, so I just like basically called up my friend. I was like, "Hey, I'm surprised I'm here for good." And I like stayed on my friend's like kitchen floor, I think, for like I don't
Hey, you need
know.
a housemate? I'm
You
there.
know, she had like this small apartment in Queens, and I like stayed on their like kitchen floor for I don't know how long. When I was telling you guys earlier, like after that, I moved to like Bushwick and in Williamsburg or Bushwick, Brooklyn. And at the time it was like 2006 or something. And it was a little dodgy. And I was telling you guys the only place that
That's
I
like,
felt comfortable was like across the street from a train station. Cause then I could just like run to the train and back and like not feel worried that someone would maybe mug me.
I mean, dodgy is like
So
the biggest understatement ever for that era of Bushwick.
yeah, it was pretty sketchy. What's crazy is so like when I got that place, like I moved in, right? And I signed the lease already, and the person that had me sign the lease, my roommate, she said like, yeah, there was actually a person that was supposed to be here, not you, but like before you, someone also signed the lease, and they got mugged the day they moved in. They got like everything stolen from them. Like,
but welcome.
I know. And like, well, it's you now. And I'm like, that would have been great to know before I signed. But yeah, it's changed so much. Like I lived there. I was a little miserable, to be honest, because like I had a job that fell through. I was like living off of Cheerios or something. And at least it's Cheerios and not like peanut butter again. And then I finally, I got my bearings, and eventually, like now I live in now Kensington, Brooklyn. So I love
Kensington to
it.
Kensington. That could be the autobiography title.
Full circle. Yeah, I love it here now. I live like right by the park. There's trees, but it's still like really close to the city, and I can walk around to like amazing cafes everywhere. But yeah, it's great.
Nice. And we're getting 1 hour of show now. So I have one question for you to, for the people trying to join the industry and everything. You've been around for a long time. Any recommendation? Not calling you old. James just said, the industry is quite new, so
Wait, I just want to caveat that with like Lauren said, everybody looks about 25, so I'm happy with that.
That's good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, would you have any tips or like recommendation for anyone wanna get into the industry? Then you've been worked for a long time. You work with the biggest studios out there, and so any suggestions, recommendation, tip?
Just don't sell yourself short. Like I know you're right, coming into the industry, like I feel like this is the time where you get taken advantage of the most. I know your worth. Like when I started out, I like didn't know how to compare anything to what I was doing, because it was like one of my first jobs. I was like spending way too much hours, way too many, and probably not getting paid as much as I should have. But yeah, just like don't be afraid to be transparent, to talk to people about day rates. Like I know it's so, people are scared of talking about like how much money they get, but we will all help each other to actually know this rather than like everyone being in the dark. So I think that's an issue, is like a lot of people are afraid to say it, because they're afraid like that maybe if your rate's higher or lower, you'll be seen differently, or you won't get the work if you're too high.
That's a UK problem too. Like traditionally, like UK, you don't really talk about your earnings. So that's something to it's kind of ingrained into our society. So it's something to try and get over.
Don't do it. I think it's really important, because I feel for like people coming right out of school, or like changing careers and like, barely making a living. And I know the industry is a little tough right now, but you still, don't burn yourself out, and don't like work for peanuts. You don't do that. And I think it's good to be transparent, because like I haven't like known people's rates until like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I was surprised to know that I should have upped my rate a while ago. And also like during, once, I think it was like last year, it was like such a good time to up your rate. So if you haven't, do it.
Do it.
Do it. That, and it's just like, it's another thing I would say is like, it's so crazy, right? How we're talking, like most people are remote now. And I think it's a lot to do too, is like communication has gotten pretty shoddy, I feel like, over years.
I just use emojis only.
But that's the problem. It's like a smiley face can sometimes make you think someone hates you. Like you could use it in two different ways. People could read into it. And I think it's really important to like get on the phone, or to do like a actual, like what we're doing, like a live, or not live, but a video chat, or even just hear someone's voice is so important when interviewing, because then you can, there's more of a person there. There's more of like, people can get a better idea of who you are, and like and trust you more than just like a quick, tiny little sentence with a smile. So I think that's also the change, and I need to adjust to that because I'm overthinking every little email these days and like thinking everyone's an a-hole and like, you know, but in reality it's like the age of ghosting where people will like take 3 weeks to get back to you, or like, and that's just normal now, it seems.
Yeah, it is
So,
true. I think communication is a big thing, you know, especially. I feel quite sorry for the young generations coming to the industry now with a lot of people working from home and everything. So we used to learn from being in the studio, being, you know, next to someone you admire and everything, and you just learn seeing. You know, nowadays it's so hard. You know, it's so hard to have interns and to help people. You know, the young generation to grow and learn as well. You know.
Yeah, to your point, I think it's really good to try to see what is out there, like a Slack channel or like a community of people that are going through something similar to what you are. I think is really important. Just to get, you know, like to not feel alone for one, but also just, you know, bounce off experiences and learn that way too. I think it's really important. I just found out there's like a moms of MoGraph like thing out there, and I just found out yesterday or something, and I was like, you've been here this whole time.
All right, that's cool.
I know like one mom in the whole industry, but yeah, I think it's good to find your community and find people that, you know, are also eager to like to build and to learn like new tricks and new AI that's like so fast, like rapidly changing too. um, I think it's good to like stay educated in that as well. Even if you hate it, I think it's good to know your enemy.
I agree.
Just because,
True.
yeah, it's really important, I think, to know new tech coming out of school.
So you
That,
talked about like day rates and you know, finding out what people earned. I guess kind of this is like a two-part question really. Like, did you find there was like much discrepancy between male and female of the same experience level? And also what kind of hurdles you, or if any, you've come across being a female in a very predominantly male dominated industry?
Um,
Oh, and
yeah,
also,
that's not.
sorry, advice for other females in the industry to stand out as well against, you know, because, you know, I think representation is very important, and it's nice to have a more level playing field.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'll answer your last question first because it's the first in my head. I think it's important to not say sorry or like be overly nice, but there's a fine line. There's like a fine line of being too nice, because when you're too nice, it kind of acts like you don't have the confidence, or like you. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. Like, it is good to be nice, but it's just like you don't
Yeah,
want
I know what you
to.
mean.
Yeah. But it's also really like good to be humble, of course. But I think that's important, is just like, and everyone says sorry. A lot of women say sorry for the dumbest things that you shouldn't say sorry about. I think it's
I mean,
like
I'm
almost
English. I always say sorry. Yes.
you're just a girl. But I think it's important to just like, yeah, I mean, it's polite. It's nice, like I said, nice to be nice. But I think it's just like, you know, um, like I feel like a lot of women need to uh, like ask to do what they're gonna do anyway, like when they should just do it. Kind of like, you know, the polite way of just being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, is that okay? And then, but when in reality that's like your job, that's what you have to do anyway. I think that's something that I could work on as well. I think it's also it has changed. I'll just say that the industry has changed. I honestly love when I'm working in a place, not when it's all women and not when it's all men. I love the balance of both. I think it's good energy. I love being around dudes and I love girls. I love everybody, women. I love just to be, you know, I think it's a good balance. I feel like when it's too many women or too many men, I think it's definitely a different shift. To that point, like when I just started, I was seriously like maybe the only female most places I'd go, and I'd come into an office and be like, "Oh, are you the new like assistant, or are you the new producer?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the director." And
It's
there's nothing
derogatory, isn't it?
that, yeah, but it's just like that's happened so many times to me, and I mean, I don't have like pink hair and nose piercings and tattoos, and but yeah, and you know, not to say that that's what you need to look like you're an artist, but yeah, I think yeah, balance is great, and I love that it's changed. I feel like it was really difficult in the beginning, and there was like a woman's like meetup for a while when I started, just because it was like so little. There'd be like 7 of us, and like the that I would know. And then it's gotten so out of hand that it became like 50. And I was like, oh, we're fine. I'm not going to these anymore. It's like there's just too many women. So I think it's gotten so much better. And I have like dealt with uh, definitely like been talked down to before, like in the past. It hasn't really happened as much anymore, but you know, like just to be very transparent, I sometimes don't feel like I'm being taken seriously being a woman. And I know a lot of women have a hard time saying that, but it's just is what it is. Um,
I do like that
I
there's more kind of female. Sorry to interrupt. I do like there's more kind of like female run studios out there. You know, like Panic at Cinema the other day, and Swarovski, and you know, there's quite a few more prominent female-led studios, which I think is you know makes a lot of difference again for representation.
yeah. No, it's like I said, it's changed so much. So I can't really complain as much as I used to. I mean, I
We can complain about other things. It's all right. We've got loads of things to complain about.
oh my goodness. But then
But
I'd be like,
I think it's still not enough, you know. Like he's saying, James, it's quite hard to point a female on a studio nowadays. You know, we still quite a male domination on the industry, and it is nice to see. I think, as you said, the industry changed, but I think it's still a slow pace, and we couldn't do a lot better than we're
yeah,
doing. You know?
I think so. And I think it's also like it's a lot of word of mouth. Like a lot of people just get their buddies, and then it ends up being a buddy team, and it's you know, and then you then it's like a lot of your buddies are guys, or a lot of your buddies are girls, and it's fun to work with your friends. But I think it is good to have a balance for sure. It's more worth it than knowing everyone on the team.
You get more interesting ideas you don't really count on. Like even is it male or female or not, if you're hiring your friends, you kind of know what their creative
Yeah,
process is roughly, which can be a great thing. So obviously, risk is also an element when you're doing a commercial project. But having like a you know someone else you don't know, you know, adds quite
yeah.
a new dynamic or good dynamic.
And friends always like to take advantage of us. They always like they know like
True.
what buttons they could push. They know like what they could get away with. They know like they know too much about you that you know
It's like
you
having a
can't trust.
sibling.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I agree. But
Cool. I think that's a nice way to, you know, to take and trying to
Yep.
finish. We just over 1 hour and 13. We don't want to hold you long as well. We know your life, but it's I think it's a good subject always for us to remember and remind everyone. You know, because it, as I said, you know, there is changes there, but I think we still could do a lot better than we're doing already. You know.
for sure. Yeah, I agree. I could
Do
talk to
you?
you guys forever, but you know, like maybe another day.
Maybe another
Yeah,
day.
yeah. We even us, you know, for us as well. We're trying to bring more female artists to the channel. You know, to the live show. Sometimes feels quite hard. You know, I think I don't know if it's. I could give one tip of advice. Is like to get more public face as well. You know, because I think
Males are too
guys always.
shouty. That's the problem. We're
Yeah,
proper
yeah,
wankers.
you know, it is. It's true, and there is a lot like female artists we want to invite, and they don't feel, you know, they're ready. I think it's not about to be ready. You know, it's like you're saying, it's about, you know, to be honest and you know, so many artists has amazing work, you know, and just giving the opportunity for them to talk as well. But I think I think seeing like you talking and so many female artists, and it is quite big names in the industry, I think help, you know, to get
inspires
the other people, you know.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think inspiration is a massive thing.
I could give you guys a list. I know plenty.
Oh yeah, please do.
I will.
Perfect. No, that's great. Thanks so much, Kim. It's been amazing talking to you. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of your work since like the old days. You know, it's always been such inspiration.
We're not old.
Yeah,
I mean, old days. You know, James. I just get back to what you said. The industry is quite new. You know, so the old days is still quite early. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was great. I love talking to you guys for sure.
Well, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And thank everyone. We just had the live show this week, so we have the live show in 2 months, and next month we have the live stream again. So just make sure you follow us on the Instagram. We always post there, and if everyone make sure when is the date we're doing. Okay.
Great.
And thanks so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.